Nothing to hide, and I'm gonna break it straight down the pipe for you, face to face.
Being tough gets you hurt. This is a sharp game, a skill game, a chess game, and I think people see that.
Having lost that fight, walking out of the ring, what were your memories? What did you think?
Boxing's a lot tougher than I expected.
UFC.
You don't know my ability though.
That's true. That's true.
You don't.
I don't know where you might go. I just give you where I think you're at, which I'm entitled to, which is average. Average is very complimentary.
The Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua face-to-face interview delivers a heated look at two fighters coming from completely different paths. Jake Paul, the YouTube personality turned boxer, steps up with confidence and bold energy as he confronts former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. Joshua stays composed, observing Paul's challenge with the calm, measured focus of a seasoned veteran. Meanwhile, Paul openly admits that Joshua's size, strength, and championship mentality make him a serious obstacle. He doesn't hide his respect, acknowledging this could be his toughest matchup yet, but insists he's prepared and ready to prove he belongs on this stage.
This relentless style, this forward pressure, taking lots of damage and not giving a fuck and returning that damage more than what his opponents are giving him. And
with the fight now officially locked in for December 19th, the excitement has surged to a whole new level. Jake Paul stressed that this isn't just another influencer showdown. It's a legitimate challenge against a former unified heavyweight champion. He admitted that sharing the ring with Joshua comes with enormous danger, but claimed that true greatness demands taking risks others wouldn't dare to attempt. Joshua, on the other hand, stayed calm and assured, acknowledging Jake's hustle and dedication, yet reminding everyone that experience is everything. He made it clear that when the bell rings, all the respect disappears and instinct takes control. Both fighters agreed this clash will reshape careers. Either Jake delivers the unimaginable, or Joshua proves once again why he sits at the top.
Oh, I like the challenge. That's the criticism. Fight someone in their prime who's a beast. I think people just want to see me lose. That's really what the message is behind it all. And Anthony Joshua is an insane fight, but I want that challenge. We've been DMing back and forth. He wants to make it happen. He called me up, and it's looking very likely for next year.
I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua. I know I will beat. Knocked out, right? Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. But I want to fight you.
Former UFC champion Michael Bisping shared his thoughts on the matchup, calling it a no-lose scenario for Jake Paul. He says that even if Paul comes up short, he'll still gain major respect for stepping in with a former heavyweight champion. To Bisping, taking on Joshua shows Paul isn't just dabbling in celebrity fights. He's embracing real danger and proving he's serious about boxing. And if Paul somehow pulls off the upset, it would launch his credibility into an entirely different stratosphere. Bisping believes this kind of high-risk, high-reward move is exactly what Paul should be praised for. Meanwhile, the situation looks very different for Anthony Joshua. For him, the matchup could easily become a lose-lose. If Joshua wins, critics will accuse him of chasing an easy payday instead of facing elite contenders. But if he loses, the backlash would be enormous. Falling to a YouTuber-turned fighter could stain his legacy and raise serious questions about where he goes next in his career.
Say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls, he was man enough, he was willing to test himself, he would prove everyone wrong, all his critics, like me. By the way, I'm not like out there on an island by myself. Everyone says the same thing, and he would potentially prove all of those critics wrong. Well, yeah, he would, maybe, unless there's some funny business, right? And for Anthony Joshua, as I said, this is kind of a lose-lose, right? Because if he wins, people are still going to say, well, you only beat Jake Paul, right? The man that lost to Tommy Fury, after all, right? That's the only loss in his record, Tommy Fury. You're telling me that Tommy Fury's going to beat him and then Anthony Joshua's not going to beat him? So if he beats him, he gets no credit. And if he loses, then holy sh**. Can you imagine? That would be the biggest downfall of any boxer's career. The reality is, he's not going to lose. There is no way on this earth that Jake Paul can beat Anthony Joshua in a boxing match. That's just a fact, okay? Look at what he did to Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou hits as hard as a Ford Escort, going 100 miles an hour or whatever that stat was. Comes from the UFC. He was the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. Has a good go against Tyson Fury, but goes up against Anthony Joshua and gets flatlined. Every single punch that was thrown was landed, and every punch that landed put Francis Ngannou down, okay? So to stand there and think that Jake Paul, who's much, much smaller, who has way less experience, that doesn't weigh anything near him, is going to have a chance, and not to mention that.
Either way, this matchup seems more like a financial decision than a legacy-defining challenge for Joshua. One of the major talking points heading into the fight is a massive weight gap between the two. Jake Paul came in at just under 200 pounds for his bout with Mike Tyson, while Anthony Joshua typically enters a ring as a full-size heavyweight, usually around 252 to 255 pounds.
I legit think it was probably close to happening. Now you're telling me there were discussions to potentially, sign to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. And again, I do believe the reason for that is Jake's massive size advantage. Again, that's like a 100-pound weight advantage. How would that even work? Like, how do you even... Never mind. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because it's not official and I don't think it's happening. So let's just not even broach that subject. But let's talk about the Anthony Joshua fight. And I want to hear the clip again because I just can't believe what I'm hearing. Let's play it again.
I know my boundaries. I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will fucking beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know I will just got knocked out, right? Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends, all this shit, but I want to fight you.
So Jake says he wants to fight Anthony Joshua. He says he's going to beat Anthony Joshua's ass, that he doesn't have a chin, that he has no skill, and that he's stiff. And then you hear Derek again with the porn creeper stash chime in. Didn't he just get knocked out? Yeah, by Daniel Dubois, who is a reigning heavyweight champion of the world. Not that means anything at all, I don't guess. Yeah, Jake's just flat out wrong here with a lot of his critiques of Anthony Joshua in comparison to himself. Like, if you want to say for the elite heavyweights in the world that Anthony Joshua has a little bit less skill and is more stiff than they are, then okay, but Anthony Joshua is still an elite heavyweight in the world. And then to go as far as to say, I will beat Anthony Joshua's, that he doesn't have a chin, no skill, he's stiff. Like, again, Jake can have this opinion. And he says that, that we're friends and I love you, but I want to fight you. And Jake may even believe that, but he's just wrong. Like, Anthony Joshua took heavy shots against Daniel Dubois before he was knocked out, and really the reason he was knocked out is because he got in a firefight and threw an uppercut as a lead because Ben Davidson.
Anthony Joshua has gone toe-to-toe with some of the biggest names in the sport. His experience level is on a completely different tier compared to Jake Paul, and Joe Rogan has emphasized this when discussing the potential matchup. Joshua has survived battles against world-class opponents, while Paul is still climbing the ladder and learning what true elite boxing really feels like.
Coming into his own, man. That's what that is. He's only like 27. That guy's fucking scary. He's dangerous. Going into that fight, it seems like he believed that he was just going to dominate him. He was so aggressive. He was just in the pocket constantly, just forcing Joshua to go to war. It was wild.
Everybody was like, look, to Joshua, I think you're done.
Right after he knocks out Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, you're back.
Yeah.
Flattened Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, oh, Joshua's.
Dana White's opinion on Jake Paul remains openly dismissive. He said he stopped taking Paul seriously after he finally lost to a legitimate boxer. White has little respect for Paul's boxing resume, describing his earlier bouts as nothing more than manufactured pay-per-view spectacles. He even brushed off illegal threats from Paul's team after he criticized the legitimacy of those fights, insisting that while he doesn't think they are fixed, they still don't resemble real professional matchups.
See the fight that's reportedly being worked on for December 19th in Miami.
Did I see the fight being worked on December 19th in Miami?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know which fight I'm talking about?
No.
Fair enough.
Oh, Jesus. That's a fucking bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what. A lot of people watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. I think everybody's going to get what...
Tommy Fury has completely shut down the idea of Jake Paul stepping in against Anthony Joshua, calling Paul's ambitions nothing short of laughable. He reminded fans that he beat Jake even with a severely injured hand, using that moment to further chip away at Paul's confidence and credibility. Fury insisted that Paul hasn't earned a fight of this magnitude and suggested Joshua has almost nothing to gain from it. He even hinted that if the bout somehow drags on, it might look like Joshua was paid to hold back. Because in Fury's eyes, Jake Paul has no realistic chance of troubling a true heavyweight like AJ.
I can beat Jake Paul. And excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me two-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So...
In contrast, Tyson Fury has issued a surprising prediction about a possible showdown between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. The former heavyweight champion believed Jake Paul would actually knock Joshua out, confidently stating, Jake Paul knocks AJ out 100%. I'd bet on him.
Tyson Fury just comes out with an interview saying that he thinks Jake Paul will knock out Anthony Joshua. I think this is probably like a troll attempt to get Anthony Joshua to fight Tyson Fury, but then again, I don't know. Maybe Alexander Usyk did more damage than we thought. I think Jake Paul knocks him out, Fury told Ring Magazine when asked about Paul versus Joshua. I just think Jake Paul would knock out Anthony Joshua out. I think Jake Paul is on the rise. I like his new heavyweight look, a bit chubby, a bit bulky, getting there. And he just did a great job over the aging. The fool's like almost 40, you know, and he like was not a fighter for a long time or a boxer, you know, he's just in it for the check and the name value of his dad, you know. Aging Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he was a middleweight, but still. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Who'd he call out? Tank Davis and Joshua? That's just crazy. I see Richter Scale call outs. Exactly. I will say, I don't know, Gervonta Davis could beat him too, even though he does outweigh.
He sees a potential matchup as a genuine 50-50 its battle, and has even doubled down on his belief by putting £1 million on the line, backing Jake Paul to come out on top.
Talk about possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. And I like his new heavyweight look. Bit chubby, bit bulky. Getting there. That's protected. And he just done a great job over the aging Chavez Jr., who was a middleweight, but still.
Sure.
Yeah. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Do you know what I mean? Who did he call out? Tank Williams and Joshua. That's just crazy. That's what you call Richter Scale.
Fury's remarks have ignited a heated debate within the boxing world, with many doubting the credibility of his prediction. In response, Jake Paul expressed full confidence in his own abilities, claiming he would multiply the wager tenfold, putting £10 million on himself to win the fight.
Want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know I will got knocked out, right? Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. All this I want to fight you. I will beat Canelo.
Stop the tape now. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. The thing I respect about Jake Paul is his strategic selection of opponent. The retired NBA player, the mixed martial artist who does not specialize in striking, and a almost approaching 60-year-old Mike Tyson. But Anthony Joshua's skills are 1,000 light years ahead of Jake Paul's. Anthony Joshua, Mr. 28 wins, 25 knockouts, 4 losses. Anthony Joshua has been in the ring with real fighters. His resume speaks for itself. I just have one thing to say. Jake Paul, you can't play boxing. Trust me. Just stay in your...
However, Jake Paul's habit of challenging legendary fighters has annoyed many boxing fans. Critics argue that he isn't a serious professional and that his public callouts are more about attracting attention than actually proving his skill in the ring.
Hype at this particular moment in time. Now, I'll give Jake Paul credit for this. At least he's in the ring with a boxer. But 57 years old is 57 years old. And 57 years old and formally walking into a UFC fight as an audience member, as a patron with a cane. It's hard to believe a year later that you're going to be in any condition to really, really fight. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. And if you're Jake Paul, here's what I want to say to you. It's Mike Tyson, that's fine. It's a money fight, I get you, and you want to make money. But at some point in time, if you keep telling us that you're taking boxing seriously and you want to be recognized as a big-time boxer / fighter, you're going to have to fight somebody closer to your age, who is a contender at the very least in the sport and who lives with it every single day. Could you please get in the ring with somebody? Pretty please with sugar on top. I'm interested.
What did you think about the fight, Jake Paul?
I hate it. And Jake Paul's starting to piss me off. Mike Tyson is 57 years old, man. Jake Paul been training with professional boxing trainers for years. He takes the sport very seriously.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing. And I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer, but then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting actual boxers. Now he decides to fight a fighter, a real fighter, which is Tyson. But Tyson is 30 years older. Stop this nonsense of going against dudes that either ain't boxing or is 25 years removed from the sport.
Stephen A. Smith has been openly critical of Jake Paul for targeting boxing legends like Mike Tyson. Smith argues that if Paul truly wants to establish himself as a legitimate boxer, he should face opponents closer to his own age and skill level rather than going after seasoned veterans like Anthony Joshua, who have far more experience. According to Smith, for Paul to earn credibility in the sport, he needs to test himself against fighters who are active and comparable, because challenging much older or more accomplished opponents risks making him look like he's chasing publicity instead of genuinely proving his abilities.
Are beating up on dudes who don't box. They're not boxers.
I was on Disney Channel while these guys were winning UFC championships.
Okay.
You know, I was playing with Mickey Mouse while these guys were throwing arm bars and winning UFC championships. Everyone's, analyzing my career, critiquing it, paying attention to it from day one, but you can't tell me who was Mike Tyson's first fight. You can't tell me who Muhammad Ali, who is his fourth fight. No one knows, but everyone's seen all of my fights. I tried to fight Tommy Fury. Yeah, I tried to fight Tommy Fury and he backed out due to a rib injury. Undefeated, young prospect. He comes from the Fury family. His brother's the heavyweight champion of the world.
Smith has long criticized Jake Paul's choice of opponents, claiming he mainly faces non-boxers or fighters past their peak. In response, Paul defended himself, saying he attempted to fight Tommy Fury, but Fury backed out. This moment is a pivotal one in Paul's career. While he had defeated former MMA fighters and older boxers, he has yet to consistently overcome young, rising boxing talents. His loss to Tommy Fury was one of the rare instances he faced a prime, skilled boxer. Paul maintains that Fury avoided a rematch, but critics argue that if Paul truly wants respect in boxing, he needs to take on more opponents like Fury.
For Anthony Joshua. However, given all of that, both men are going to make $92 million each. So forget my opinion. Who gives a damn when you can bank $92 million for having a little move around in a boxing ring? Fair play. You can't on that. However, let's talk about it. The reason I say that it's a lose-lose we'll start with Jake Paul first. The reason I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everything.
Despite all the controversy surrounding this matchup, the financial stakes are enormous. Reports suggest that each fighter could earn roughly $92 million from the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight, bringing the total purse to around $184 million. That's an immense payday, easily one of the biggest of either of their careers. For Paul, it's a major financial victory no matter the outcome. For Joshua, it's a huge cash incentive that makes stepping into the ring even more tempting. Will Jake pull off the impossible, or will Joshua show that this fight is nothing more than a lucrative mismatch?